So on my end, it says you are live. I'm not sure if you get to see that on your side. But we usually give it a couple of just breaths while we wait, because it does notify people who follow my page and who have, followed the event. They're interested in the event. It will notify them. And then I'll start seeing a couple of eyeballs. So we give it just a little bit of time so that they can find their way to our chat. But it looks like we do have a couple of people starting today. And so today, we'll just get started and see who catches on here. So welcome, everyone. This is Kim Andersack with the South Carolina Homeschooling Connection. I blog about resources in South Carolina, and one of my interests and passions is about legislation. The blog that I write was actually started back in 2013 when homeschool rights were under fire. And so I became very interested. It kind of burst my bubble that everything's fine. Everything's fine. Our rights are just fine. And so I became very passionate about kind of keeping watch of that. And I like to talk to other people who are interested in following legislation. And so who I brought with me today is one of my go-to sounding board people, my friend Anna, who watches legislation a lot too. I don't think you were around in 2013 when that thing happened, though. So tell us a little bit about what sparked your curiosity and interest in legislation.
Well, in 2013, our oldest was, I think she was in first grade. So we were a part of your accountability at that time.
Okay.
But we didn't know a ton about what was going on. And just through reading the blog, talking to you, I said, well, I guess I should probably get involved. Seems like this is something that maybe not everyone is on board with me having the freedom to do. And I'd like to keep it. So that's kind of where that came from.
Yes. So it's and it really, I mean, the more that I learn about this, and I don't think either one of us consider ourselves experts on how do we watch legislation. These are just things we've learned along the way, and kind of thought, well, let's have a little chat and see about sharing that information with some others who are interested in getting involved. And, it's like what I say, a grassroots effort. That's how Third Option was started in the first place, was a grassroots effort that parents got together and said, this is what we need. And Third Option was brought into law because of that kind of initiative. And so I think that it's, every bit as important for us to have that same kind of grassroots effort now to watch for the legislation that we have coming up. So here we are. So let's talk about, and I recently just put together a blog post for us, so I thought I'd pull that up for us to kind of look at some of the things. The current session of legislation is this 2021-22 school year. And I always thought that they were like year round, and I didn't know when they came around. So, but the legislation goes in cycles, and there is an open session that started this year in January 2021, and they will be in session until May. I'm pretty sure that's as far as our state goes. So they have this busy period between January and May, and then we have a little bit of time off for the rest of the year, and then it'll start again. They can pick up these legislations again in the next year in 2022, and they have until May of that year to get these bills passed. That's the process. So do you have anything? Jump in anytime you have anything to add, Anna. And anybody that's watching, if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat box, and we'll try to talk about them and answer questions as well. So what were you going to say?
Just right now, I guess this feels like the time of year where it's the bills that are probably going to start making more movement. This is kind of where it's like, okay, they're going to move or they're not, because you're getting close to time.
Right. There's a bunch that get dropped in here, and so that's partly partly what we watch is and look at is just how many bills get dropped in here. And with all of the COVID homeschoolers and the changes with the public education, all of this like public focus on education, there's going to be a lot more. I think this session, this is going to be a pretty busy session where people are like, let's make some laws to fix all the problems. So what I have done is I've gone through and I pulled out some of these important bills and kind of explained my opinion about them. So you can click on these things and it will actually take you to the legislative website. But I thought, Anna and I thought maybe we would talk about kind of how we go about looking at those bills so that when you read somebody's opinion, you can go to the actual source where the legislation is and read it for yourself so that you can make up your own mind and your own opinion and verify what we're saying. So, okay, so here we are at the main page of the South Carolina legislature. Is there anywhere that you tend to look on here?
So I guess how I used to do it was I would just search things for homeschool is one word, homeschool is two words. I would go under that track legislation and
under
it would
here?
let me log. Yep, just log in. It has a pretty easy, create account situation there, and then just find the things that pertain to me. I'd have to read through them, and there's usually a lot. I know you watch a lot more than I do because you're looking at. I have kids in a specific age group, and I tend to stay away from some of the high school legislation just because I don't feel like I have the understanding of how it pertains yet. So I leave that to the people that do, and I focus on the things that I feel like I know enough about to have an opinion about.
Right.
So I would just go in there and type in homeschool. And it usually will have some that are one word, some that are two words. If you don't search,
I didn't think this was a simple process. I was never able to get logged in over here, so I stay on the public side and don't do any of that.
I had to call the state house and say, "Hi, I need some help with getting logged back in," because it would make me keep resetting my password. So I had to call like the little front desk, leave a message. And somebody called me from their tech side and fixed it, and now it works, and I don't log out because I'm afraid.
Okay. Okay.
I don't want to call it back.
So yeah, so one of the things that I tend to use from here is this legislation search. A quick search right here. You can click, if I can get this tab to stay open, you can click on this bill number, and I can type in the bill number that somebody told me I should look at. And I come over here and I type in that particular bill number to look for it that way. So like, for example, one that we've been looking at lately is 3031. Each session you start to learn these numbers, what they go by. So the House side, the numbers tend to be 4 digits. It's got an H. So like the bill that we just looked up was H 3031. And you can see where it is tracking now. This is kind of a cool thing. Do you ever look at this page like this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to go there and just kind of, because like you said, underneath there, it'll show you how quickly it's moved, where it's at now. And it also shows you who's already in support so that you can know, my representative does or does not support this, and, decide if you want to say anything to them about it.
Right. So this is actually specifically a homeschool bill. This one is on homeschool topics. And what we have going on right now is bills that really we need more homeschoolers to support in order to make them push through. We tend to get a lot of people who want to, when their rights are being under attack, then we get like, everybody's on high alert and they're like, oh, wait a minute, don't you come after me. And we come out much stronger in opposition to things. But what we have going on now are things that would help expand our rights and opportunities And so we need more people who can support these things. So this particular bill is trying to amend the Interscholastic Code of Law. And it gives you a little synopsis here of what's happening with that. They have, in the way that the equal access law is written, it starts with like a phrase that says about a year prior, and it's kind of worded weird. So when the law first came into being, it was not ever imposed that if a homeschooler wanted to access interscholastic sports, they didn't have a 1-year waiting period. But now they're using it as a way to prevent people who have switched from public school into homeschooling, or even into the charter public schools. They just change out of that traditional brick and mortar school, and they're being forced to sit out a whole year. Now, this is an optional thing that's available for people who homeschool, but they were academically eligible to play, and now suddenly they are declared ineligible simply because they moved their school of choice. So here's this bill that's proposing to change this, and it's been proposed a couple of times to change that wording so that disqualifying clause is removed from there. If they're academically eligible, they should be allowed to play. And so it's been introduced, and then once they read it on the House floor, then they immediately refer it to a committee. And this is actually where we get a chance to have our voice heard, is when it's in committee. And so that's where it is actually sitting, and it hasn't moved anywhere since January. So it's not getting much traction for this particular one. And like Anna said, you can look here and see how many sponsors have signed on with it. The more sponsors, the more likely it's going to get better traction. And we would like it to get a hearing. Now, there is a bill that's similar to this. If I can find it real quick. I don't know the number off.
15 or 615.
This one, I think. This one's the similar one. That's a joint resolution, and it's eliminating that, removing those restrictions for just the next 2 school years, for the 2021-22 school year and the 2022-23 school year. And it seems to have at least got a hearing. It got a hearing a couple of weeks ago. I have not seen it come out with a favorable move to take it. If it gets a favorable hearing in the committee, then it will go to the full House, and then they vote on it from there. And I think it's still just sitting in committee, so that one hasn't made any progress.
Well, these are bills that you could have a positive conversation with the representative about, so that it's not the only interaction that these representatives are having is just negative. It could be an opportunity to reach out in a positive, hey, we would really love you to support this, which also gives them an opportunity to interact with us, in a positive way, and that helps on both sides.
Right. So we tend to be a lot reactionary about stuff. And that's one of the things that I felt after my first, I was reactionary. I was like, we could probably do better than this. We could probably be more proactive. And so this is a way to be a lot more proactive about things as well. So when you contact, who do you contact? I've always heard, just call your legislator and tell them what you think. But that really isn't the right way, is it?
No. I guess you could ask your representative to support the bill, but like we've discussed recently, you're better off to find out the committee, send your opinion to the secretary of that committee, and then they're able to read it as a committee, and it is a part of how they make a decision of what to do with this bill. So
right.
Want to get your opinion in front of the right people, this is where you need to go.
Developing a relationship of some kind with your legislator is also very helpful, especially if your legislator is one of the ones that's on one of these committees. That helps. But you can ask them to just, this is an important issue to me. Would you consider signing on? as a supporter to this particular piece of legislation, because they can add their names on there and sign on, and the list can grow here of supporters and sponsors of the bills. So you're talking about finding out where the committee is. So over here, this is where I first start the quick search to find the bill number that I'm looking for, if I know that by number. Up here is where you can find the committees. There's a little tab here. It's thinking. There it goes. So this has all the different committees. So on the House side, we tend to get things in education and public works. And under the Senate committees, we tend to get the education committee.
Make sure you know which committee you're in. You don't want to send it to the wrong one. That's an easy mistake.
Right. If it's a House bill, you don't want to send your concerns to the Senate yet, because you got to know which committee. That little chart is very helpful to know which committee it's sitting in. So go back to the chart and go, oh, it's sitting on the House side. I got to talk to this committee, and then go find the education and public works.
And I'm sorry, I meant to say this a minute ago, and I forgot that little picture that you showed. And we talked about how legislation will come out, at the beginning of session. They will pre-file bills, and you're able to see them before they open. So you can go ahead and start checking, like right at the beginning, to see what's pre-filed, so that you can go ahead and be following those bills. So you don't have to wait until it gets moving. You can go ahead and just get started. I meant to say that earlier. Sorry about that.
Yes, they will pre-file stuff like in November and December, and there's another way to track some of those things of what's getting filed and when things are moving, as well as just directly on this website, which we'll get to. So Janie was asking, she's watching along, she was asking, how do we find who to send it to? So hi, Janie. So here we have the committee. Here we have the committee, and there is a chairman. You can contact the chairman. Again, if any of these representatives that are here are one that is your representative, that is a good way to say, hey, I'm also one of your, constituents, and I'm glad that you're on the education committee because I have concerns about homeschooling. Or school choice in general. We do watch some of those things as well. But what it has here is the scheduled meetings, and this is how you submit stuff to the committee in general without having to bug them. So there's an agenda here that's available. This one's today, the agenda of what they're talking about today. And this one is, make sure it's the right committee. This is the K-12 committee. And this one's the Public Safety Committee. See, so that's the wrong one, where the agenda. So, but you click on the agenda, and it tells you who to contact, and first of all, what they're going to be talking about, the different bills that they have on the agenda to be talking about. So anytime one of the bills that we are watching comes up for on their agenda, that's a perfect time to submit your testimony by writing. You can request a chance to speak, and they take public information. They want public feedback for these things that are on their agenda. But it says at the very beginning here, the written testimony is encouraged, but may be submitted to this Ginger Lee at schouse.gov. And then she sends that to the rest of the committee on your behalf. And so that's
extremely personable. I've called and spoken with her a few times. They want you to submit things. They make that as easy as possible. It's not something to be worried about interacting with them. I mean, they make it pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
Right, and you don't want to just say, hey, 3031 is, we support it. Like, you want to give like more reasoning of any personal experience you've had, and or goals that you have in mind. That particular thing is about interscholastic sports, so speak to that issue.
Sure, you can speak personally. That's perfectly fine, and I do encourage that. And you can also speak on a group level, like if you know other families that this would benefit or has hurt, get together, put your testaments together, what Gingerly told me when I called her at one point was sending things and saying, this is a group of homeschoolers, or, you know, a third option group or whatever, and saying, we represent this many people and this is an opinion that we have, that can also be helpful as well. She said both are encouraged, but if you're a part of a third option group and you've got some families that this has hurt or could hurt, or that it will help, let them know it's you, but it's also, this group. She said that can be helpful, just as something that will catch the eye of as they're reading through, because they can receive quite a few testaments.
Yes. So this is a very helpful tool to just be able to navigate around on the different committees too, how to find the information you're looking for. We can go back to this committee page and look at the education committee, and it's set up very similar like that. A lot of the bills do start on the House side. I don't know if you've noticed that before. Sometimes they have like companion bills that they're very similar worded, and they'll put them on both sides so they can start making their progress that way. That way, if they pass one of the main houses and they cross over and start, so like this H bill could theoretically end up being passed around. I think we have one that's already made it to that. Let me see if I can find it. The one that is about this one. No, not life. No, it's this one about the Palmetto Fellows. I think this is the one that's made a good bit of traction so far. So here we are. See, this one. This one is taking the state scholarship that is Palmetto Fellows, and it is expanding it so that right now it's limited to the way that you can use it is only at a 4-year institution. And so this bill is proposing that they allow the Palmetto scholars to take their scholarship and use it at a tech college. And so anything, I was just talking to Ann about this because she said she didn't understand a lot about the high school stuff. Yeah. This doesn't specifically affect homeschooling. This isn't actually a homeschool bill. This is Palmetto Fellows, which is, we just want equal access the same way as any of the other grads. And so it's interesting to us to follow these kinds of things as well. But you can see already how many more sponsors there are and how quickly it has already moved, because it was just pre-filed, like she said, pre-filed in December, and it has moved from the committee to the full floor. It got read 3 times, then it goes over and it gets read to the Senate side. So this bill is still called H 3017, but it's currently in the Senate committee. And once it passes this, if it can get past this, then it will go on to the governor and become a law.
Yeah. So like you're saying, it was in the House. So you did your due diligence. You reached out to the House subcommittee. Hey, I want support for this. And you do the same thing, or you can do the same thing to the Senate, or to the Senate committee that you want to support it as well. You can jump over there, send them the same letter, and then push for acceptance over there, because it's going to have that. So if it's something that you feel strongly about, then reach out to the House committee and to the Senate committee, help get it through.
Right. So here we are with the scheduled meetings on the Senate side, the Senate Education Committee, where it's at. And they can talk about that. It might actually, sometimes these ones go not through education though. Okay, this one is education. Sometimes it goes through a fiscal,
the
Ways and Means, because it could affect how much money it's going to cost. So sometimes these education bills get diverted through a funding evaluation, the committees that oversee those kinds of things. So just be sure which committee it says it was going to. And the same, again, here are the scheduled meetings. So again, it doesn't like openly just say right on here, this is who the chairman is. You have to go into this onto their agenda to find who the contact person is for this one. I believe there's a direct contact. This one has the SC DU Senate committee person. That's
when I have had contact with that committee, it is the secretary for, if you scroll back up to the top, I remember his first name is Greg, but I don't remember his last name.
He is the chairman then.
Yes, his secretary is who answers the phone for that committee. I don't know that they have an equivalent of a Ginger Lee over there. That's who I have. That has been my point of contact. So, but like you said, there's an email there. You can email it there. But if you call that committee to ask questions or anything, that's who you're going to get.
Yeah. Peeking on this agenda to see if it came up when that one comes up to be considered. Yes, but you can also click on these and it will tell you the contact information of how to reach. You can send a message directly to the senators or the representatives, right, directly that way as well.
That is not their mode of preferred communication.
They don't prefer that, though. They prefer you to contact that person that's on the agenda, and then the information gets distributed to them. Even if it's not on the agenda, you can still contact them and request a hearing for some of these things as well. So, and then your opinion was voiced to get the hearing made. So,
sure, absolutely.
So, but that's the basic tools that I use on the main, just South Carolina legislature website. Are there any other tools that you use off of this?
I mean, so when I go into the find your or track your legislation, I do receive emails, and you get the emails as well. But I think you are getting the committee emails, and I get the emails specifically about when the bill is making movement.
Right. I get that on the app, though, the tracking and the notifications.
I'm using the app for that. Yeah.
I use the app for that part of it. And so that's the other tool. Huh?
Can we show that here or no? There's no way to do that.
Well, I don't have a way to share my phone, but I took some screenshots, and let me find where I put them.
The app is
I put them in a Google Drive. So the app, yeah, so here's some pictures that we can look at that show the app. So you can go, and it's you can do it for your Android or your iPhone. It works either way. Okay, this should open. Why is this not opening?
Yeah, you can just go in right in there and type in homeschool or the bill number, and it's real quick and easy to use.
Right. So this is like what I look at when I see the main screen on the app, and it it shows you the next time that the House and the Senate are going to reconvene. Because sometimes the agenda will say what time that the hearings are going to start for the subcommittees like that. And then it says an hour after the session. So like these Senate sessions, it'll tell you when the session starts, and then it's just whenever it ends. They wait an hour and then they have their meeting. It's not always possible to log in to watch all that directly. So, okay, let me pull this up again. Sorry.
You're fine.
So, but there's a little settings bar here that you can click on, and it pulls open some options for you to search for different things. And this down here, you can click on, and it pulls up agendas and opportunities that are for the Senate and the House. You can click on this search here too and search for, that's how I search for, like, I just want to search for homeschool, everything that's homeschool, and then it pulls it up. I don't have to go through that login rigmarole. I've already logged in on the app, I guess. I've figured that out. So it lets me search by the topics that I want this way.
Yep. And you can just follow them, or, whatever you decide you want to do with them. And the app will show you where it is in committee, what committee it's in. It does all of that too.
Right. All the same thing. So here I have a couple of just topics that I like to follow. Yeah. So the homeschool one, it's way more limited that specifically state homeschool in them. And so those ones are easy enough to follow if that's what your main interest is. And then when you click on that, it brings up the bills. I might have a screenshot with that one too. This one. So when I click on homeschool, these are the bills that it pulls up then that that you can watch, and you can click directly on that 3031, and it takes you to a page that's really very similar to that one that we were just looking at on the main website.
Yes. And if you make it 2 words, it'll bring up even more bills.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
because it'll pull up everything that's school then?
Well, because sometimes in the bills they put it home school, 2 words.
Okay.
And so I found I have to search both words or I will miss things.
Okay.
There's definitely more than those 3 bills.
Okay.
So yeah, I would if you type it in both ways, it'll pull up the rest of what's there, and then like
I learn something new every time.
like you said, and it will bring up, say, but I have not found it to bring up stuff that's just about any school. I haven't had that happen, so I don't think that's an issue.
It just brings up both of those terms then.
Yes, yeah.
Interesting.
Like homeschool, 1 word and 2 words.
And then there's a way to follow this anytime something new comes up, then you don't have to keep searching it. You're continuing to follow. It's following that for you. And anytime new bills come up with that term.
Yep. And you're not getting emails, you're getting an alert. And for a lot of people, they would prefer an alert, not an email, because it's quite a few emails.
Right. That's where this is too. The alerts are coming up in here too. I think you can make a setting for whether the alerts come to you or not, because I do get it's just a notification. It's not like a text alert, but it pops up kind of like on my Facebook app where it's like you got those little notifications there. It lets me know. But when I click on the app, it pulls up these are the notifications all listed here too of things that came up.
You can tell Janie the name of that app is just, I believe it's South Carolina legislation, right? Or legislature, is that right? She's asking for the name of the app. Is that the name of it?
I believe so. SC legislation. SC legislature.
Yeah.
So, and then I have this one that's pulled up some of the bills that I follow. If I can get it to pull up. And so I've got some of these bills that I'm following here as well. Specifically.
Yes.
And I think when you click on it, it gives you that same thing like this tab that was over here. I think it gives you the same thing over here.
Yeah, it'll give you that. You can click that and read the write-up.
Yeah, so that they will keep, but I think you can turn it on so that any updates of that particular search will continue.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a bill that is, gone through House, it's in Senate. Maybe you want to follow that specific bill to find out if it makes it out, like if that's important to you, but you don't want to get barraged by other things, you can tailor it to what you want to know.
Oh, here it is. So when you click on like the Senate tab right here, then it pulls up the picture of the Senate.
And there's committees right there listed.
And then their schedule and calendars, is all right here. So you can get to them. And then, go this way. You can click on the members and the committees and find. Yeah, this gives you the list of all of the members, and this one gives you all of the committees, and you can contact them that way. So those are the tools that I use to keep track of legislation. I do also refer to other people who watch legislation and talk to them. I found somebody recently this week. It was a new site, and I don't even remember what it was called. And I was like, oh, look at all the bills they have. So I went through and said, are these ones that matter to me too? Because like you said, I must not be using all the right search terms to get them all. So, but I updated my post.
Yeah, I'm excited to read that. And you put out a new one on ESAs today too, right?
Yeah, so ESAs is a new bill that it's been in session multiple times. And what this is doing is trying to create a new way for people to be able to take their child's education outside of the traditional schools. And it's diverting some of the funding so that it goes with the child. And the education funding is way more complicated. We were talking about this a little bit earlier this week with some other people that there's kind of this philosophy that we must be entitled to all these services at the school because we pay taxes there. Well, that isn't quite how it works. The funding doesn't follow the child. But on the other hand, I've heard critics that think the same kind of thing in reverse, that your child isn't there, therefore you're keeping the school from having funding that they need to function. And it's not quite that same correlation one-to-one with the child. But there is some funding that is based on the child. So they're taking this little allotment and saying, what if we rethink education a little bit? Because what if we did try to change education so that it could follow the child? Well, we can't revamp the whole system, but what if we start and try with people who have special needs kids or are really low poverty? And we have that corridor of shame where a lot of poor rural families are stuck in just that's all they've got for education is what their local school can offer them. So what if we created a way for them to be able to get a different funding? So I do always include the creation of the education savings account. There's some school choice advocates here in South Carolina that lobby for this every session. They've been doing it since I think 2017 was the first time I had a real in-depth conversation with them about it. And but it looks like a pretty robust bill this time.
And
it's
a lot better than it did last time.
Yeah, and there's some, because they're coming out of the system, they aren't going to affect homeschool rights, but they are going to be outside of the system with trying to DIY their own child's education. And so my concern last time was that it needed to have the similar kind of academic requirements and oversight that we do as homeschoolers. They shouldn't be allowed to have funding and then not have anybody say, but are you doing record keeping and the minimum basic subjects and things like that? It doesn't affect us, but it also isn't, we don't want them to be unfairly advantaged. But this one has a ton of supporters. It was just recently introduced, but I suspect this one will probably make some progress this time. It usually does pass over, crosses over, and gets to the other side. Sometimes they will throw another companion bill for this one onto the Senate side so that the Senate can start to think about it. Things tend to go through the House quicker than they go through the Senate. The Senate sort of slows things down and deliberates a lot longer about things and debates a lot longer. But this one is one to be interested in if you're more of a school choice advocate rather than just homeschool advocate. So, but yeah, we want, it would be interesting to see more people have the opportunity to take their child's education into their own hands. And some of them with special needs that need like occupational therapies and things like that they can't afford on their own. I know some of us that are homeschoolers are like, what? I'm paying for all this. And so it doesn't feel fair, but there are people that really cannot leave the school because they cannot afford any of those things. So
and they need it.
And they need it. I know. I mean, that's a whole different thing about whether homeschoolers want that kind of access to.
Sure. But it's definitely a bill to be aware of because these things that shape the opinions of school choice in South Carolina, homeschooling is a school choice. So, I mean, that affects us in its own way, even though it's a little nuanced.
It is. Yeah. And, it's a way to change the dynamics of education by letting some of the money follow the child and see what happens with that. And it could open up doors of opportunity for the rest of us that way if this is a successful program. So absolutely. I kind of like it. So it's definitely worth watching and following, but also, just we want the same equal opportunities as anyone else. And, so that's also our big agenda there to make sure that we're being considered and evaluated. There was one a couple of years ago where they had said, we're going to just make the state scholarships available for public and private schools and no longer offer them to homeschoolers. And we're like, wait, what? Whose idea was that?
Yeah. Yeah, which is again another reason. Watch the legislation. It can be positive things for you, or they might be negative things. But if you're not watching and you're not informed, you can't have a voice to help shape the powers that affect you.
Yeah.
You need to be doing that.
Right. And I just feel like a lot of the information comes out on like social media, and it feels like this sound the alarm, our rights are under attack. And then you go to it and you look at it and it's like, but it's sitting in committee. And by next session, when it starts in the 2022 part of this session, if it's still sitting in committee by then and it hasn't made it past that, it's really not got a chance of getting out of that. They do get stuck. And so it's all right to take a breath and, wait before we react all the time.
Bad bills get introduced every session. That doesn't mean they're going to do anything. It just means somebody had a bad idea. Be aware, and if that idea needs to be, squelched, then do it. You know how to reach out, but you don't have to freak out every time. That's unnecessary.
Yes. It doesn't put homeschooling in a good light, in my opinion, that we only come out when we're outraged about something.
Absolutely. And how do you project yourself in those situations? If you don't have a well-written email that you've sent in and, pointed out, not just like you said, we don't like this bill. Okay, great. Why? Mm-hmm. Well thought out communication is also really important.
Yeah. So, well, this has been a lot of fun. I do really hope a lot of people are able to kind of use this information. And let me take this one off of here so it's just us again. And be encouraged and empowered to, get involved. The grassroots effort, I think, is really a powerful tool that we have. And that's kind of what homeschooling's about. You don't have anybody that says, hey, this is our thing. We've got to watch out for this. And this is what you do next. Like, homeschoolers are very DIY kind of people. And so this is right up our jam. We could do this and get involved.
Yep.
So well, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming and talking to me, Anna. And thanks for everyone who watched. If you have more questions, feel free to contact me either on the Facebook page or on my email at homeschoolingsc@gmail.com. And this has been Kim with the South Carolina Homeschooling Connection.